Welcome back to another episode of If They Won't Listen. It is space. It's made in a Hollywood basement. I sent out an email earlier today for the invite for this, and I called it Space: The Search for a Plot, which is a tongue-in-cheek reference to, actually not a tongue-in-cheek, just a cheeky reference to the movie we just watched, which is Star Trek 3. With me, as always, my co-host, my co-pilot. He's the Han Solo to my Chewbacca. Yeah, that's right. I'm Chewbacca in this scenario. He's the Han. Is Spencer.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. I've never been called Han Solo in my life.
You know what? I got a funny story. Go.
Wow. I gotta take that a second to absorb that in. But the search for a plot was a hysterical thing to read before we came on the show.
Just a quick note, I didn't think the Star Trek 3, just in summation, I didn't think it didn't have a plot. It did have a plot. It was good. I just thought it was just a really funny thing to say, the search for a plot.
No, it's hysterical. I know not to take things too literal with your jokes. I know you're just going for the laughter as opposed to like the meta reference.
I know. I'm very Kaufman-esque sometimes in my humor. It's not about getting a reaction from the audience. It's about the reaction that the audience gets when people see it from the audience. You know, it's very layered. It's layered. But it's funny because I remember this one time, kind of going back to this like whole Han Solo thing, where I was at a tapas bar, or not a tapas bar. I was at a tapas restaurant with my wife. We were doing a double date. We got there early, and the waiter, we made a Star Wars reference, and then he called me Lando, and I felt so complimented that night.
Oh yeah.
He just went, "What do you want there, Lando?" And I went, I love Lando. He didn't go with Han Solo. He didn't do Luke Skywalker. He went with Lando. He looked at me and said, "You know what? This guy's a Calrissian."
Han Solo is just cool, but Lando's like the definition of cool.
He's pushing Colt 45 malt liquor on people, man.
Yeah, just still get on his dark side. I heard he's a real two-face.
Wow. You really did put a dent in that. I'll tell you. Okay. All right. Spencer and I are nerding out right now. Okay. All right. Let's nerd out a little bit more. The movie we watched this week is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Yes.
You ready for some of the production?
What was it? Hold up. Before we get there. Was this your first time watching this?
Of course. Every movie we're watching, with the exception of First Contact, Insurrection, and Generations, and of course the at least 2 of the Abrams movies. These are my first time watching all these movies, especially with the Kirk Spock era.
Okay, the Kirk Spock.
Also known as the TOS era. Also known as TOS era, which stands for those old scientists.
All right. Okay, so I have to admit, this is probably my 5th time watching it, maybe.
Okay.
And the first time I ever watched Star Trek was probably in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I was just like, all right, well, I heard good things about this Wrath of Khan.
Wasn't your 20s like 2 years ago for you?
No.
You're welcome, buddy.
No, I wish.
It's
not that far away either. I'm not 35. Yeah. So it's just I'm still under the gun.
Ouch.
I don't care. Hey, let me tell you something. 30s, you just go, all right, I know how to do things right this decade.
I'm an adult now. I have premium subscription to 5 streaming services.
And I do a podcast where we talk about Star Trek.
Grown ass man. That's what my dad wanted for me.
So Star Trek, watching the Search for Spock. I remember the first time watching it and being very underwhelmed by it, but at the same time, I didn't find it to be a bad picture either. I was just like, all right, all trilogies, the third one usually doesn't have as strong of a catch as the previous 2. Mm-hmm. And with this one, I was just like, it kind of feels like a similar thing, but at the same time, it's not like, again, this wasn't a bad movie. This is just a very interesting movie. I mean, nothing could go wrong when you have Christopher Lloyd in your film.
I can't disagree with that. I love Doc Brown.
Right?
I even watched that one show he did with Pamela Anderson, Stacked.
Stacked was interesting.
That was
He actually executive produced that one too, with Steve Levitan. And they wound up doing Modern Family.
And Just Shoot Me was his other show.
Yes. And before Steve Levitan, Christopher Lloyd was executive producing Frasier.
Interesting. I did not know that. These are fun facts. Whoa, man, you're already getting to the production facts, the fun facts about people already, guy.
We're just talking. We're just talking.
We're just talking, baby.
We're just talking.
At least get me a glass of nice Muscat, you know?
You don't have any honey wine left over?
Oh, I do, man, but I can't keep drinking that I can't have a glass of that every night. You gotta have a separation of time in between to really enjoy it. Because if you have it every day, then it just, for me, it loses its luster after a while, you know? It loses its appeal.
Loses its pizzazz.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Enterprise, where just after a while it just starts to get old. And
and there's something that you have to zhuzh it up a little bit.
Zhuzh it up a little bit.
You want to?
Let's get into this.
So for somebody that's watched this 5 times, do you have a nice little synopsis that you can pull out, or?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
All right, punch me in the face with it, baby.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna put me on 30 seconds, okay? So, Star Trek: The Search for Spock. This is the epilogy of Wrath of Khan. This is when we discover the aftermath of what happens when Spock is gone and what happens when Genesis is around. And this is the journey that we take into discovering where's Spock, which is a surprise in itself. Is it possible to get to Spock? And why is Christopher Lloyd such an amazing Klingon?
Wow, with 3 seconds to spare.
Thank God.
I was literally counting, but I'm literally looking at all the seconds as you did that. So well done. Well done to you, sir. That's
Less
right.
is more, baby. Less is more.
Less is more. The Search for Spock, written and produced by Harve Bennett. You might know him from the other Star Trek movie we watched before this one.
Yeah.
The Wrath of Khan.
The anchor of the Trek franchise.
Which is funny because the way you look at this as a trilogy, when in fact that this is, in terms of an arc, this is actually the second movie of an arc. But you wouldn't, if you watch this back in the 80s, you would have never known that. You would have known that until you watched the 4th movie and you realize that it actually that's the 3rd movie. The first movie is just its own thing. The Wrath of Khan really starts the Wrath of Khan really starts as an arc to a trilogy. So it's funny that you say that. All right, cool. So written and produced by Harve Bennett, directed by Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy, and costumes once again are done by Robert Fletcher, which I have to say, those costumes, I even wrote down a couple of notes here.
Yeah.
Some of the jackets that those guys were wearing were so fucking fresh.
Sulu's cuffs are to die for.
Right? No, I liked McCoy's jacket that he was wearing at the bar. It was it was a kind of a Han Solo-ish jacket. Kind of got that vibe. Now I'm almost to a point that I wonder if because I look at the jacket I can recall the jacket that Poe Dameron wears that Finn takes in episode 7, and I think, you know what, that jacket actually looks like the one from this movie from Star Trek 3, man.
That's awesome.
So this is not. So I learned that this is not Nimoy's first venture into directing. Oh yeah, by the way, music is by James Horner again, guys, just in case you know. But yes,
love the Horner.
Love that Horner. I'm Horner for Hornets, baby. But this is not Nimoy's first time directing. Actually, the first time he ever directed was less than 10 years before or actually more than 10 years before, slightly 11, whatever. He directed an episode of Night Gallery, Death on a Barge, and a play. So he's
Have
got.
you ever watched Night Gallery?
Of course.
It's a very interesting series.
It was very, very. It's very that gothic kind of period for its time. What was assumed to be spooky and unnatural and supernatural.
Yes, but I feel like Night Gallery fell short with the subject matter that I was trying to relay in its messaging throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know each story had its, each one was an anthology in itself. So it wasn't like an overarching story throughout a whole series.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Twilight Zone had more of a message to give to the people. Whereas Night Gallery, I find that, like, if you look at the people who came out of Night Gallery, these are names that you know today. Like, Steven Spielberg started off in Night Gallery before he got to Jaws. It was essentially like Night Gallery. Night Gallery got him to Duel, and then Duel got him to Jaws.
Don't forget Piranha 2.
I thought that was James Cameron. It's James Cameron.
All right.
I think so. Yeah, I'm almost positive it's him.
All right, keep talking.
Anyway, so Night Gallery is really fun. So to hear that Leonard Nimoy actually directed an episode of Night Gallery is not that surprising. Like, I feel like that would be something he would do next, especially how that was produced by CBS. And we all know that Star Trek is a CBS production, aka Mothership Paramount.
Bless you.
Okay. Thank you.
Did it go down the wrong pipe?
It went down both pipes, unfortunately.
Oh no! You got double penetrated.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. Sorry about that.
You're fine, dude.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Night Gallery.
Night Gallery.
Nimoy. What did you think of his directing in this movie?
Solid.
What was solid about it?
It was the movie had a very consistent direction from beginning, middle, and end. However, I didn't see anything too exciting. But I will tell you the one thing I did notice throughout the film, besides certain themes that were reoccurring from the first two movies, which were the old versus the young and the old wanting to relive glory times. I saw a lot of the Kirk Maverick, the Maverick Kirk in this movie.
Yeah. You see the Maverick Kirk and you see like the rest of the gang that follows. Like, this one has a very, like, I'll put it this way. This has like a very Justin Lin Fast and Furious type of feel to it. This specific one.
The heist. We're getting the gang back together, guys.
Yeah. Like, obviously there's not a bank vault going through like, the galaxy, but like, it's these different people from all different parts of the earth, and they're just like, or planets, and they're just like, this is what we got to do. We got to save our friend. And watching William Shatner portray Captain Kirk this time around is really interesting, because I think for the first time you saw the non-showboaty like Kirk that you saw in the previous two. You really see a mellowed back Kirk where he's kind of really evaluating the situation before jumping at the action. As before, he would never think twice about something and jump at the action.
Yeah. Like I said, Nimoy had a really solid direction. Harve, the way the history goes with this movie is that as soon as obviously the success that they saw, Paramount saw with the Wrath of the Khan, they wanted to follow it up. However, Nicholas Meyer doesn't return into the director's seat because there was disagreements at the end of that production that Nicholas Meyer didn't agree with how to do the movie, and Paramount said, "Fuck you, we got the power. We're gonna do it this way." So because of that, he was pretty butthurt about it and didn't come back. So they asked Nimoy, and Nimoy, who was in the Wrath of Khan, was reignited with his passion for playing the character and Star Trek. So to get a chance to be asked to direct the movie, he jumped at it. And him and Harve Bennett together were just very excited. Let's get this script going, which it took them 16 weeks to write the script.
That's not really shocking.
No, it isn't.
You can kind of see how, like,
yeah,
I'm sure there's been a couple of drafts to it, but you can see there's no real layer to it. It's mostly like, this is all surface material. This is what we need to roll with. Like, let's not get as heavy or Shakespearean as we did previously.
You're right. And they kind of, in this movie, this is where I felt there was more of a play it safe. I didn't.
Yeah. There wasn't much danger or worry for these characters as the previous two installments, but this one has more of a lackadaisical kind of feel to it, where like they're not super people, but like there is no grave danger because we've already been through the grave danger of Khan. Anything after Khan is cake.
Oh yeah, big time. All right, so with a release date of June 1st, 1984, budgeted. So this is a year after Return of the Jedi. This is budgeted at $16 million. So they got a little bit more this time. And at box office, $87 million.
That's incredible.
Once again, they considered that to be a success.
Well, yeah, the how many times they turn that dial around. Yeah, that's incredible.
100% agree with you on that. It's they did.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that like Leonard Nimoy would be like the one guy? You're like, yeah, listen, we got this third film, we're going to do it. Like, we're excited about it, but at the same time, it's like, we'll see how it goes. And Leonard Nimoy is like, yeah, I'm going to direct this one. Let's see how it goes. And like it comes out to be something special, and like I have to admit the close-ups. I mean, doing the close-up is such an amateur thing. Not amateur. Let me rephrase that. Doing close-ups is such a basic level thing to do when filming that like I feel like in the previous film we got a lot of wide shots from Myers, where this one like everything is just kind of like
tight shots. Yeah,
eyes,
like
you're
lips.
seeing. Yeah, the crease marks in the faces. Which like I actually admire. Like that's like you won't find that kind of stuff today, actually. But like to see everyone just be that upfront with the camera and express an emotion was really something I haven't seen before in a Star Trek.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that was Nimoy's choice on the. That was a Nimoy choice on that one. So here's something I didn't know you knew about. If you knew this, but Paramount really wanted to keep their cards as close to their chest as possible. So they increased security during production of this film to prevent any leaks. Set pieces were built out of sequences. And then any mention of Spock in the script was actually turned back, was replaced by the word Naklov, which is Vulcan backwards. Scripts were chemically treated to see if just in case if it leaked out, you can trace it back to the person. It's like, what the? They really wanted this. They're like, no, we cannot let this leak out, guys. We need this to be we need this to come out when it comes out and people see it for what it is. Especially when we say the title is The Search for Spock. We want people to shit their pants when they hear about it for the first time. The Search for Spock? It's coming out when? I need to go see it.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, here's the thing. I find it funny how they put that much emphasis into hiding, that much effort into hiding what the big reveal is going to be. Meanwhile, it's in the title the whole time.
Yeah. No. I you know what? I missed a note here. I think they called Star Trek 3 something else just to keep something from the production crew. I'm just gonna move on with it. But when it released, it competed with when the Search for Spock released, it competed with the following movies: And Gremlins, Temple of Doom, and Ghostbusters. And
Temple
even
of
with
Doom.
yeah,
That's funny. Ghostbusters, that's interesting.
Yep.
And Gremlins, that's cool. That's Joe Dante.
yeah, oh yeah.
Joe Dante.
Like he made I won't lie, I think he made one of my favorite parts in that Twilight, one of my most favorite segments in the Twilight Zone movie. All right, let's get to cast. Let's go to cast.
Let's go to cast.
Let's go to cast. So original cast reprises its role, of course. Kirstie Alley said no to playing Saavik.
All right, so what's your research say on this? She said no. Did she say why she said no?
Yeah, once again, I'm doing all this research from the Wikipedia. I don't have any interviews, and I didn't really go too far off the deep end to find out the why. But but according to the Wikipedia article for this movie's production under casting, Kirstie Alley didn't want to reprise the role of Saavik out of fear of being typecasted.
Yeah. That's one story I've heard. Another story I heard is that she wasn't getting paid enough.
Okay.
So, and that could be too.
Yeah.
Because because think about it, you got to get like 6 core cast members back together, and then after you got to hire other people around that. Like that's a lot of money. And this particular film shows how much more everyone was paid too, specifically with the core cast, because like the extras in this movie isn't that high.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are extras, but not as like much as there once was previously.
Oh, especially in the Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Wrath of Khan, actually both Wrath of Khan and the first movie, the motion picture, there was a lot of extras. And I would say I saw more extras in the motion picture than I did in Wrath of Khan. But in this one, there was a lot more of just focusing on the original cast with emphasis on Kirk and McCoy.
Yeah. Well, I felt it was really with everybody, because I think Spock being out of the picture, McCoy is like kind of like little marbles in the head. And like you get to see the supporting core like really shine in this one.
Oh yeah.
And I think Chekhov had so much to do in the last one. They kind of, reduced him down a bit, but didn't really, get rid of him, so to say.
He had about maybe 5 lines.
Yeah, but like Scotty, the engineer, I mean, dude, that guy was just rolling in lines. It was actually fun to see.
Yeah, I liked Scotty, and seeing Scotty in this movie really makes me admire Simon Pegg's interpretation of the character in the Abrams movies.
Yes.
And I saw how cheeky Montgomery Scott was in the original films, made me really realize, oh, Simon Pegg was really paying the respects to that character the way Scott Doohan played that character.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about Simon Pegg, is that he actually has respect for other people's craft.
Oh yeah. We can get into another time, but have you ever watched the show Spaced?
No.
Do you have Hulu subscription?
Yeah.
You'll find it on there. Thank me later when you watch it. You're gonna be like, Leon, fucking how did I not know about this show? It only had 2 seasons and it's fucking hilarious. So Saavik is played by Robin Curtis. Now, she was in other stuff such as Ghost Stories, various stage plays, The Unborn 2, something called The Sex Monster, and a Blood Fist 6, Ground Zero, and guest appearances on MacGyver and Babylon 5.
Wow. Babylon 5 and MacGyver?
I know, what a track record. But apparently
that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. However, according to the Wikipedia entry, because she was friends with an executive person in the casting department, might explain why she got the role in the first place. Because I will admit, when you compare Robin's Curtis interpretation of Saavik compared to what Kirstie Alley brought to the table, it kind of fell flat for me. She wasn't super exciting, but she wasn't terrible either.
No, but at the same time, I was actually thinking of that, and I thought Kirstie Alley wouldn't work in this picture either. It works better for Robin Curtis because of how light the material is, as opposed to previously where the character is more anchored down into being such a strict kind of character throughout the story, especially doing so much exposition on the rules of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a way, I'm kind of glad she didn't come back because I don't think it would have blended that right. Although she is a comedic actress, so it could have worked all day too. Like, who am I to say?
Yeah.
But I think Curtis Robbins is an interesting replacement for what it became to be. And Kristen Robinson is really interesting in the appearance in this movie because she has a very Sigourney Weaver alien look to her.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, you're right. She really did because she didn't have the same look as what Kirstie Alley had, but she did have that. You're right. She did have that Sigourney. Now, when you mentioned, you're right. There was some. I picked up on that similarities because I did find something appealing about how the way she looked, and that does.
Yes.
That could explain it.
I mean, it's Ripley with Vulcan ears, and I mean that in a complimentary way. Like, really that's no knock.
And then David Marcus is reprised by Merritt Butrick again, and then Dame
with a better hairstyle too. Right? I'm sorry, that was a little too tight. I was like, what's going on with this whole perm scenario? We don't need this. Let's take this out of the picture. And they listened. They were like, all right, we're taking out the perm in the third one. We heard you, Spencer. It's good.
We heard you, bud. No, we got you. We got your back like a Jimmy. It's all good. And then we have, of course, the main villain of this story, Kruge, the Klingon captain, played by Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd needs no introduction. People should know who the fuck Christopher Lloyd is at this point.
And this is a really great point of Christopher Lloyd being in a Star Trek movie because this is like, I think this is 1 year before Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, what he's really known for is like everyone kind of forgets him about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because he's such a sensation on Taxi.
Yeah.
So for him to go from Taxi to like Star Trek, The Search for Spock is like, it's mind blowing. And like Leonard Nimoy was the one who really was able to sell it to the people. He was like, listen, I want this guy right here. This guy's got it. I want him in the movie.
Yeah. He that was one of the things that made Leonard Nimoy choose him after seeing him in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He wanted Christopher Lloyd to play the main villain. And then lastly, to playing Spock's father is Mark Leonard, who's been on previous other movies, including other Star Trek films after this one, and has done guest appearances on Gunsmoke, Mission Impossible, Hawaii Five-0, and was on the Planet of the Apes TV series. This guy got work, pretty consistent work at that.
Yeah, and he was also Kirk's father in the TV series too.
Yes, he was.
And it's kind of funny that he was on Mission Impossible because Leonard Nimoy was on Mission Impossible too.
He played a Romulan commander in one episode, The Balance of Terror. He started playing Spock's father on Journey to Babel, and again in the animated series as well. Yeah, there you go. He's got experience playing in Star Trek. All right, cool.
What brings us to our next segment?
That brings us to our next segment, which is the actual fucking movie itself.
Oh, what a great trailer.
Right? Opening on a recap of the last part of the aftermath of the Battle of Khan. We get a quick recap of what happens to Spock. Seeing that Admiral Kirk is still in mourning, but hiding his feelings and his emotions throughout, with Bridge. Which, can we talk about the guy who had to come in with the balls? You go, do you think there's going to be a reception? Oh, yes, a reception.
No, he goes, do you think there will be like a celebration?
A celebration.
And he corrects himself with like, the other thing. And it's just like, who is this guy on my bridge? Get him out of here. Let him be shoveling coal into the Energizer. Like, I want him out.
Have him shovel coal into the warp core. God damn it. That's not how warp cores work. I don't care.
I don't care. It's a joke. Laugh.
All right. We move on to Commander Kruge's introduction, where he receives the Genesis data from his lover, who he promptly blows the fuck up.
To smithereens.
Valkyris was her name. What's the point of remembering Valkyris's name? Doesn't matter, because she is space debris at this point.
Just a fun fact to have.
Just a fun fact to have. We move on to, let's see, the Enterprise docks back on the station where they introduce the SS Excelsior, along with the fact that there's a echo happening with Bones' mind meld from the previous movie.
The ghost scene, as Leonard Nimoy likes to call it. The ghost scene. And it's true, it is almost like a ghost scene, but I'll tell you something. That is one heck of a performance from Bones. To sell it the way he does. Because he's like Bones having act like Spock and then like still giving off like the same.
Yeah, the
like,
Bones
he's
attitude.
Give off an eeriness. Yeah, exactly. And you just watch and you're just like, yeah, I feel exactly like Spock, exactly like Kirk now. Whatever facial reaction Kirk's giving in this movie, I'm like, dude, you beat me to the punch.
Yeah, there's really that's what I mean. There's really good acting in this movie. Yeah, but it wasn't as exciting as Wrath of Khan. But when it comes to movies, especially in a series, you have to treat movies as their own thing. You cannot compare them to the one before and the one after and expect it to be at either one of those levels. Like, I didn't expect Wrath of Khan to be at the same pace of the motion picture. No, it's its own movie. It had its own theme and its own setting, and that's what you get with Search for Spock. You get this moment where everyone's dealing with this aftermath of Spock's death, who's impacted the entire bridge crew, and McCoy, who hates Spock. He's not hates. He's just not a fan. There's friction.
They're like two politicians on different sides of the seats.
Right, exactly. And then he's been mind melded, which Bones' performance after learning about that was just phenomenal. I thought he was just like, son of a bitch, kind of.
DeForest Kelley never lets you down.
He really doesn't. Fucking really doesn't. So then we move on to that. After that, we get into that there's a message there that McCoy had saying to climb Mount Celia to Kirk. And then from there, we hear word that another admiral, has approved or is enforcing that Montgomery Scott transferred to the Excelsior.
Yeah. And the rest of the crew gets a long leave.
And wants to decommission the Enterprise. And then what I'm seeing here is this a lot of they're taking away Kirk's having this. He already lost his best friend and his number one. He's losing Scott, and now he's losing the Enterprise. And they're gonna put him back.
He's losing Bones,
and he's losing Bones on top of that. And they're putting him back on a desk job.
Yeah, the one thing he hates to do.
He doesn't want to be. He's not a pencil pusher. He's a phase pusher. He shoots phasers and he fucks Orions. That's what he does.
It's amazing that out of everybody, that whole crew, they were like, Scotty, you have to go on the Excelsior and make sure that ship runs right.
Not Sulu. Not Sulu. Don't bring on a really good helmsman onto the ship.
Yeah, don't bring a pilot that's going to turn into like a soon to be like captain.
Right.
It's like no. We're going to put in Scotty, the guy you keep in the basement. Yeah, that's the guy that's going on the Excelsior.
Oh my god. All right. So we move on to Kruge. The Klingons, they learn all about the Genesis, and now they want that power because they can see that it could tip the scale, even though there's peace, even though there's going to be peace among the Federation and the Klingons. Kruge wants to seize power to disrupt that balance, to make the Klingon Empire once again more powerful. And what's going on, Spence?
Well, no, can you when as you talk about the Klingon, what is your little backstory on it? Like for instance, like what's your little fun facts about the Klingons?
I don't really have any fun facts about Klingons, but besides what I've already watched with Deep Space Nine and with the Next Generation, like words like Chadich, which is somebody that acts as a supporter or almost acts like as a mentor. But what I did see here culturally with the Klingons was how much one of them can really thirst for power, and with Klingons, that's what they respect the most. That power, the desire for power, to wanting to have power, and just to know the fact that Project Genesis itself can tip the balance of that power. Of course, Kruge wants it, and he wants it for himself. He's very self-motivated this entire time. He doesn't think about his crew. He doesn't really think about his crew, although he feels that he's doing it from an altruistic viewpoint or an altruistic standpoint. You really get this feeling that Kruge is only just doing it for himself.
Yes, you feel like he's doing it for himself, but I'll also put it like this. I find the Klingons, because in the TV series, the Klingons weren't like really fleshed out. They had the style of that black and silver look, but they didn't have that forehead creation yet.
Okay.
It wasn't until the motion picture where they fully had the literal dimensions of how they imagined the Klingons would look.
Okay.
And then we get to the Search of Spock, and we get into the language of Klingons, and we get into a little bit of the how the Klingons work as a team. And it's like you said, they're very aggressive towards each other in a way. Like if you really think about it, there's only one docile Klingon in this whole movie. And I think he's the one who actually winds up getting captured in the end.
Yes.
And the others are very starved for power. And in the Next Generation, it goes in through more of an opening of the history. Like they get more of the history of the Klingons and really do a backstory, a planet, and they a lot of world building, so to say.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but with this right here, before we get to the Next Generation, they feel more like pirates of the galaxy than anything else.
That's actually, you're right. I would liken them more to not just pirates, but the Mongolian Empire.
Well, yeah, that's Lloyd had a Genghis Khan kind of feel to him.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I think it's the best of both worlds in that scenario.
Yeah, it was a really good say. I like Christopher Lloyd, man. He's a comedic man, but when you want him to be the villain, he can play a villain. And I especially as we keep going further into this movie, you definitely do see it. So we move on to Dr. David.
And let's not forget Who Framed Roger Rabbit either.
Oh, he's not only funny, but he's really fucking terrifying in that movie.
Yeah, especially when you watch it as a kid.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. The first scene when they introduce him where he puts the cartoon shoe into the vat.
Yes.
Horrifying.
You're just like, Mom, Dad, what'd you guys pick out here? Like, I'm allowed to watch this?
This is a blockbuster movie? Okay.
There's a lady with legs. I don't know how I feel about this.
I was mostly on about her breasts, honestly, and her hair. I thought she had gorgeous hair.
The hair. That hair had body of its own.
It was. It was just a creature in its own self, right? All right. So now we move on to where the plot starts to kind of take a little bit of emotion, where Doctors David and Saavik find, after the observings of the planet. Oh wait, hold on. I think I might be. I skipped ahead there. But they find some life forms that are on the Genesis that they want to go and investigate, and you get this shot of Spock's coffin.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. All right. And then we get go ahead.
No, I was just pointing. We get to Spock's coffin. Continue on, please.
All right, so then we move on back over to the Federation side where Sarek was very disappointed with Kirk and mind melds with them that Spock's essence is still out there and must have his body come back to Vulcan. So he
I like how quickly that was developed. Like, we have a problem here. How do we solve this problem? Instead of it taking 20 minutes to figure out how to figure it, like, oh, it's bones. Like, it's done within a matter of 2 to 3 scenes.
Yeah.
Like, it moves fast. Like that's the beauty about Star Trek. They never dumb down their audience. They're always making, like, they're never working too high intelligently. Like, it's not Interstellar, but at the same time, they're making you work at a pace where, like, all right, you're a human being. We expect you to understand this. Like, we want to get to the good stuff too.
Oh yeah, and when he goes to try to persuade that one other admiral to take the Enterprise one more.
Oh, the one with the killer mustache.
Oh, the killer mustache and that hairstyle, buddy.
Yeah,
fucking high and tight. It was.
Dude, that guy ruled.
People wear a jacket, but he wore that jacket.
I'll tell you something. I really don't think the costumes were as great, uniform-wise. I don't think the costumes were as great as the previous one. And it looked a little like store-bought the second time around. However, you're right. That Admiral owned the shit out of him.
So he tells Kirk, no. But Kirk's like, fuck it. I'm going to go anyways. Get the crew together. We're going to go get this bitch. After McCoy gets, arrested for wanting to, charter a ship. He gets arrested for mentioning Project Genesis, which is a no-no word, by the way, at this point. It's a forbidden word. It's no-no. You cannot say, you don't talk about Project Genesis. You don't think about Project Genesis. And if you do talk about Project Genesis, into the holding cell you go, motherfucker.
It's almost like Fight Club.
It really does become Fight Club. All right, so we move on. Marcus and Saavik are following footprints. Eventually, we get to a point where they will discover a small child, but back onto the Federation station. That's fun to say. They break out. Kirk and this is fun. I've been saying this the whole time. Kirk and the gang break out. Oh, they go and they break out McCoy. And can we talk about Sulu's jiu-jitsu for a second?
Oh, let's.
Oh my goodness. He gets called Tiny, right? He's like,
yeah.
No. And he just grabs him and he just like flips him onto the floor and he's like, don't call me Tiny.
Well, he even strong arms him in the beginning too before he even flips him. So right. And that's the beauty about it. It's like it's not. Sulu is actually probably one of the most stealthiest arms people. Like
he had a sword. That was his thing. He was a sword guy.
Did you see the episode of TOS where he plays with the sword?
Oh yeah, that's like episode 3, I think.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3. Yeah. And when that originally was produced, they were like, the producers were like, we can't let this guy do this again. Like, this guy really went buck wild. He was a little too excited.
Did you not see?
We need to take the sword away.
First of all, did you not see his obliques, his muscles?
Oh my god.
George Takei was hella jacked. I had no idea he was jacked until I watched that episode, and I was just thoroughly impressed with his physique. And you're right. The producer said we cannot. He's literally way. It's more of an Adonis than our actual Captain Kirk over here. We cannot have this guy like just upstaging what's supposed to be our main bread and butter. He's supposed to be the rice. He's supposed to be the bread on the dish. He's not supposed to be the steak.
The bread on the dish.
You're Texas toast. Kirk is filet mignon. All right, you know your place.
Well said.
Oh my god. And then we have to talk about this because I think this is one of the best part about Nimoy directing this movie. He pulled a lot of great line delivery from his actors. And I give you case in point after Sulu is Uhura on the transporter deck with that guy who does this whole monologue about wanting to be on a space adventure.
The peanut guy?
The peanut guy.
Monocle.
No. Monologue.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say is monologue, not monocle. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I love it.
English is not my first language.
That's okay.
Thank you.
I originally spoke baby talk, so I'm right there with
I get it. But when Uhura does her whole intimidation and the way she just, the delivery of the lines, which emasculates this character to get into the closet.
Yeah.
Great. I laughed my ass off just because how Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, delivers that line and how the way she gesticulates with the phasers, like, go on, go in the closet.
She's at her like peak of hotness there too.
Oh,
I've been watching the series and the TV, and like she's a beautiful woman, but like right there with the hair and the look, I was just like, holy shit.
She had that activator.
You put Pam Grier out of business. And you're right. The way she keeps talking to that little guy, it's like, you want fun?
She condescends on him hard.
Woo!
They're
like, we don't got much for you in this movie, but we got this scene, and she's like, sold.
All right. Okay, cool. All right, so we find out later that Saavik, or not Saavik, but this young Vulcan they find might be an after effect of the Genesis wave, which may or may not have regenerated a Spock.
It regenerates. What do you mean?
Oh yeah, no, it does. But if you were watching the movie I had to keep pulling myself out of it. I go, I already know how this movie is going to end, basically, because I know Spock comes back. I'm not stupid, okay? There's no such thing as spoilers for a movie that's over 35 years old. There's no spoilers.
The title.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't mean it's not Star Trek 3. We get Spock back. It's called The Search for Spock. You know, the end thing could have been just closure on knowing that your friend is dead and you can move on with your life. You didn't know that.
Who's going to pay to see that film? No,
I would. Did you not watch Requiem for a Dream? We're moving on.
Whoa.
No
way.
That movie fucked me up. All right.
You went Borg level there, buddy.
Thank you. So we go to the Klingons and Kruge ambushing the Grissom, and a nice light shot to the engines turns into an ultimate decimation, to which Kruge was upset with and just takes out the guy. I just thought that was Christopher. Wasn't even scratching the surface of how good Christopher Lloyd was as this character. I thought I was doing a light shot. It was a lucky shot. Ba-choom! There's my lucky shots.
And Lloyd has such a great way of like conveying emotion through his eyes too, because there's so much makeup that's going on with his whole face. Like he doesn't have much to do with his forehead because that's covered up, and there's not much he could really do with the cheeks. But his eyes are there all day. Oh, and the way he's convincing, like the way he's expressing his emotions through his eyes, is something that like kind of goes like unnoticeably in this movie, I feel like, because that's like how you're picking up on how he feels and what he's thinking in a way. And it oh my god, like I think he's got a great introduction. By all means, it's nowhere as like over the top thespian villain like Khan. But I think like the introduction where he talks about how he just destroys somebody by screwing up on their assignment. Yeah, shows that this man is like, it's either my way or we go out the galaxy way. Like there's no in between. There's no like you're lucky if you get a second chance. Like it's like when he talks to his crew, he goes, "All right, you could speak."
Yeah,
you could speak. It's like that. Like that's how regimented it is. And I think there's a lot going on there. But the way Lloyd performs it is so like key and low back, where like you're taking it seriously, but you're not taking it overly seriously.
Yeah.
Like Lloyd has a way of making you feel threatened, but at the same time, never unwelcoming either.
I would love to see him come back and play the role of another Klingon in another episode of Star Trek. That would be amazeballs. I know he's already fucking 90 years old at this point, but
Like
that guy's
something.
Yeah, and he still acts, so he's not stopping anytime soon. I give him props. Him and Betty White.
Actually, he's a successful man. He's really successful. Like you kind of hear Christopher Lloyd, and you're like, yeah, Doc Brown, and you're like, no. It goes much further than that.
You're only scratching the surface there, buddy. Very glib.
Yeah. Very glib. Have you ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
It's been years since I've seen that movie, but
were you blown away when you saw Lloyd in that film?
Oh yeah, I was just kind of like, this is not Doc Brown. But that's what acting is. You need to be able to portray a funny guy to now being a serious character to a stone cold killer. Even Robin Williams was able to pull that off.
Yeah, I like when he went villainous.
When he went villain for 10 years, you were scared of Robin Williams. He was not the funny man from Flubber anymore, the guy from Jumanji. He was the psychopath from 1 Hour Photo.
Yes! I was really hoping that would be said. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you get that. And with Christopher Lloyd, he knew who he was in this film. He goes, I am a Klingon, and that's what I'm going to be, is a Klingon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
That was the best Christopher Lloyd I can do, by the way.
You know what? It's really good. I loved it.
It needs work, but yeah, you're right.
It needs a little work, but you're not too far off either.
Great.
You would make a great Klingon. You do.
I would love to be a Klingon. I could not do Vulcan. I think I have too much fire in me, too much passion, that I have to just be very like, ugh, ga, 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 ga.
Oh man, you remind me of Dwayne Johnson from Hobbs and Shaw just now.
Wait, what?
You remind me of Dwayne Johnson from Hobbs and Shaw right now. All that fire you got in you, buddy. I love it.
Okay. All right. So after we come back, we get a little
past the first half hour yet?
Oh hell no! We're about to hit the 55-minute mark, baby.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're having really fun with this one. I'm not gonna lie. We're definitely having fun on this one. We go through the growth spurt. We go through the growth spurt of the Spock when they who's going through something called Pon Farr, which I had to look up, by the way.
Oh, the mating.
The mating. It's like a cat in heat. It is an uncomfortable time.
Sex in this movie, and if you don't pay attention closely, you'll miss it.
Oh yeah, was there? Point them out to me. I didn't timestamp them. Where were they?
Okay, so you remember when Saavik was doing like this with like with
the hand touching,
and the hand touching like going up and down and stuff. Wait, hold on, like up, down.
Oh
like,
man, yeah, that's hot.
That was the sex scene.
She was doing that with a child.
Listen, we don't know what the Vulcan consent of age is.
All right, fair enough. All right, fair enough.
I trust her to know best because she's a scientist.
Okay, you're not wrong. All right, so we move on to the
yes.
Now we come on to the first conflict between Kirk and Kruge, where they both of them blow themselves up to shit. Once again, kind of mirroring that whole submarine or naval battle that you get, where they both blow themselves up to shit, almost rendering themselves useless. But then Kirk tries to initiate a sort of a what do they call that? A parlance, or I forgot the word. It's the pirate term where you want to talk to where you want to like
matey?
Something like that. you're way off, but like, yeah, you got the idea. But but the surrender that they negotiated with Kruge and how they did the whole the bait and switch and to the self-destruct.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
He's
Great.
like, I dealt with Khan. This is fucking cake.
Yo. Oh yeah. he already, like, Kirk and everybody else knew what we're getting into. And Kirk knows, oh yeah, no. They're not going to have the Enterprise. They're going to have the Enterprise, but they're going to have it in pieces. Because go fuck yourself. This is my ship. I'm the one that will decommission it. No other admiral is going to tell me to decommission it. I'm going to make it go the way it's supposed to go out in a goddamn blaze of glory.
I just want to state, I know we got up to the point where Kirk is facing off against
Kruge?
Kruge.
Yeah.
But when they hijack the Enterprise and watching that thing back up, it's like first of all, who would have thought about making the Enterprise back, like a spaceship back up? First of all, like you always see it go head forward. Somebody's like, no, we're gonna back this thing up like a truck. And
you're talking about in the space station scene, are you?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You've always only seen it go forward. You're right. I did not think about to talk about. I didn't think about. So back over at the space station when they were first hijacking, when they were first, going renegade, little maverick.
They're Maverick. Maverick's a perfect word. Yeah.
Right.
Maverick and crew, as you would probably say.
Ooh. It's Tom Cruise in it, baby.
But no, like see, and then after you're like, and it's logical why they back it up, because like they know they're not opening the store anytime soon. So like, of course, like the skinnier part gets out the way first before you get the giant disc through.
Well observed, my friend. Well observed. That was very. Thank you. You just gave me a little knowledge there.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You just made my day by saying that, because I know you're not easy to impress. So
I'm really not. My wife tries on a daily basis, and I feel bad for when we have a kid. They're gonna come up to me with a macaroni necklace. I'm like, so what, bro? I got gold chains all day.
Oh bullshit! Your heart's gonna melt. Gold chains all day. What are you, Mr. L?
Okay, I want to talk about the self-destruct sequence for a second. I actually time-stamped it all the way up to the point it blew up, and it was off by. Come on, I had it here. When does it actually finally blow up? It actually took over a minute to blow up. Yeah, yeah. Okay, 1 minute. So at 1 hour 13 seconds and 13 minutes and 25 seconds, that's when the self-destruction sequence happens. It doesn't start getting down to the 10-9-8-7-6 until 1 hour, minute 14 and 53 seconds. So you do the math. When you hit 1 hour and 15 minutes, you definitely went way over a minute. Whatever.
Are you James Cameron? Like, you're being that literal about it?
I am. I'm sorry, but when
you're not just getting lost into the story.
Oh, no,
Leonard
I can't.
Nimoy spent all this time trying to make you a happy camper.
He was off.
And you're just like, excuse me, you're off by a minute here.
No, he's not even off by a minute. He's off by like a minute and another fucking 40 seconds. So it wasn't just like, oh, it's a minute and 10 seconds. It was a minute and like another 45 seconds. And I went, way off. Sometimes I'm a bit of an asshole. I'll give you certain moments where you're kind of going from one scene to another with another set of characters, where you can say that is happening parallel to the countdown, and that's why it's adding extra filler. No, this was actually straight up a 1 minute and 50 second shot of them going off the ship, the Klingons coming in, searching the ship, and then boom, it goes boom. All right, I'm just saying.
Boom. Boom. I feel like the Vega Boys. Boom.
Boom. But when the Enterprise blows up and it enters the atmosphere of planet Genesis, and that shot of the silhouettes of the crew while it's burning up in the atmosphere, I want that as a poster. That is a beautiful fucking shot.
No, it's a great shot. Hold up. I actually wrote some. Okay. Wait.
What have I done?
The journey of the Enterprise she goes down in self-destruction of a blaze of glory. The sun is setting in the background. The crew is, for the last time, is watching the Enterprise. It's like, it's cavalier to have the Enterprise go out like this, especially with Captain Kirk. It's phenomenal to see this ship go out, because they're like, yeah, we're going to retire this ship and probably sell it for parts, and they're like, this is not happening. We're going to hijack this thing. We don't plan on returning it, and we're going to see this motherfucker go out with like a blaze of glory. Like when they're watching it and seeing it coming into Earth, it reminded me like the ending scene to Independence Day.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, it was like riveting. And I gotta admit, like here's the thing about the Search for Spock. It's got so much world building into it that like the paintings of the planets and everything have so much detail and graphics to it that when you watch the Enterprise go down, it's like, you know, most people would make it seem really sad, but in this way, it's almost seen in a very heroic way, where it's just like, yeah, she went down in a blaze of glory.
It served its crew one last time, and the only way she knew how.
Yes. Well said, Leon. Yes. No. Let's put a little sound to that. You're the first person I met who's pat their back on both sides.
You know what, baby? I got 2 shoulders. That means I got more ego. All right, man. So Kirk's the destabilizing planet, the planet that's falling apart. Kirk's gambit to rescue the crew one last time. Unfortunately, his son dies in the process as they kill a hostage, and it was his son.
I love the metaphor of him dying, because he's playing God. And when you play God and you don't know how to do it specifically correctly, like the way he told Saavik, where it was just like, yeah, I kind of added this other formula to it just because I wanted to figure out the answer quicker. And it's like, oh, these are the repercussions of what happens. And that is such a great price to pay, because like, you chose to be God, you chose not to have respect for it, and therefore you shall die.
Yeah. Well said. You're right. He did play God, and the fact that he put in another element to resolve a lot of the problems of the Genesis experiment, he circumvented what would have been the normal. He bypassed a lot of things just so he can have this, and now he's losing and it crumbles in his hand. And the ultimate price for doing that is to die.
And it's him dying that keeps Spock's best friend alive.
Yes.
It's amazing how friendship is over blood in the Star Trek series.
Mm-hmm.
Like friendship and teammates and a crew is so much more valuable than any kind of family member you have. Because let's face it, Scotty had his cousin on in the previous movie, and we all know how that ended.
Yeah.
Like really, like I don't know. Like to me, I always feel like maybe the people who made this movie were just like, I hate my family, or or maybe Gene Roddenberry always had that thing in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's the best thing. Like I find it impressive that like as the films continue, that Gene Roddenberry gets put more and more into a corner with his own franchise.
Well,
specifically with the movies.
I think what the way I kind of take it in this how the way I take it with this movie, and what I've seen with, especially in the Next Generation movies and with this one, is that when you're in the Federation, you're putting your life at the biggest risk. And I'll give you an example of that.
Well, really, is it really at the biggest risk? Because you could be just like, you could be scientist. Wait, but you could be a scientist like I forget what the other starship was before it blew up. But basically, they were a friendly ship, and like they were just checking out science and life forms. Like they weren't into like discover, like they weren't like the Enterprise, is what I'm saying.
Right, I get what you're saying, but the more exploration classes, even the exploration ships, such as the Enterprise, still runs the risk of getting into danger because they have to go to parts unknown and seek a new life and new civilizations. That's their whole thing. And I'll give you an example of this because one day
what a European way to say things.
What?
Well, I mean, if you think about the way we learn history is like Europeans have always like developed ships and went out and set out for new land. Magellan went to China, like Christopher Columbus went to the Americans, and instead of saying Europeans, it's like man is out to set for new life forms and new land. It's new planets. It's like it's amazing, like that idea of ownership is always there. Like the Federation is supposed to be this big peace organization group, but at the same time they're just like, oh, there's a piece of land. This is the Federation now. Right. We're going to treat you good though.
And I really see that. I really saw that kind of world building in Deep Space Nine. It's one of the reasons I like Deep Space Nine over the Next Generation. But like I was saying, in the Next Generation, you do learn that it's not just only crewmates that are on the ship. There's oftentimes family that's on the ship as well. And there's an episode I was watching of Star Trek Lower Decks in the last episode of the first season where one of the ships gets attacked by the Packlids, and they destroy that ship. And you're talking about over 400 something people dying, and that might include family. So when you're in the Federation, especially in those Explorer class ships, you are running the risk of you are definitely putting your life on the line. It may not be every day, it may not be every week, but there is a certain amount of risk that you're putting out there when you're encountering Romulans, fucking Klingons, and Gorns. Okay? But in the end, who's going to be there for you is your crewmates.
Yes.
And you do see those things reoccur again in the Next Generation of the movies.
Yes. And it's really funny. And it's great that you mentioned about family, and you really enlightened to me something I didn't notice before. But like, especially with TNG, when you get to obviously the Next Generation, specifically with Worf, like you realize how much of a family he has. He's got a wife, he's got a kid, and like not so much in TNG, but in Deep Space Nine, they actually play that out. Yeah, it gets played out to a point where you actually see it later on get referenced in the TNG movies.
I need to see that.
We'll get there. We'll
get there. All right, but that fight sequence after as the planet is blowing up and the crew gets sent up to the Klingon warbird, Kruge, and the fight between Kruge and Kirk was phenomenal. I love it. Was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was very swashbuckler fight. Yes. While planet is blowing up, and I could not help but think that was just Nimoy's. I want to give Shatner a really kind of epic fight sequence. I want him to fight this Klingon who just killed his son, who is threatening to kill his best friend and another Enterprise crewmate. But I'm going to have a planet blowing up in the fucking background, and they're going to fight this shit out. And I thought, because he didn't really get to do much with Khan in the movie before that, even though he did get to jump on Khan and was able to shoot down a ship. Now it's Kirk getting his hands dirty. Yes. This is something that we normally see out of Kirk in the shows, but this is the first time we see it played out in a movie. Oh. And it's epic. It is epic. And I got to tell you something. The set design has a very showy feel to that. And I mean that in a complimentary way. Like, it's not that corny or cheeseballish, but it's like, this is a stage, but at the same time, like, God damn, there's a lot of awesome work put into this stage. Oh, there's great set pieces on this, which, one of the things they got away with this movie was costumes and set pieces and already established CGI models and practical effect models that they had from the last movie. They actually brought them back into this movie. So that's why they had a little bit more bang for their buck in this movie. And you're right. The set piece for that fight scene was just great. It was well built. It wasn't too showy. It wasn't too corny, but it was just enough to know that they're on a planet and they're fighting and it's blowing up.
The point to add on to what you're saying.
You gotta talk about Mount Celia.
No, that other spaceship that was also at the base.
Excelsior. When are you talking about Scott's sabotage?
Yeah. So they wanted to. So this is a little behind the scenes fact. They were trying to redesign the Excelsior. They wanted something fresh, something new, and because it's 1984 or 1983, they were like, there's a Japanese invasion, like of culture, of product, and they were like, why don't we have them, like a group of artists, Japanese artists, design a ship for the Star Trek series, and that's how they got the Excelsior.
Okay.
Which I think is really cool. Like I think it's also, and it kind of adds on to what we were talking about, like just the layers of like how deep they'll go with certain stuff.
I did not know that. Thank you for that little droplet of facts there, buddy. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Oh man. All right. So then the fight,
fight's epic.
That fight is epic. But then when he finally gets Kruge over the cliff and just says, "I've had enough with you," and gives him the boot.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And then he holding on to the boot for a good minute there.
Yeah, he's holding on to the boot.
And he's shaking him off. He's like, "Get the hell off of me. I don't like you.
I don't need you in my life anymore, Klingon." Yeah. Just
this relationship done.
We're done. We're done with this. So good. God. And then when Kirk gets back on the ship, and then he talks to that one Klingon, and he's like, "Help me or die," and he goes, he chooses his death, and he goes, and Kirk's wit in that scene was so funny and so on point, where he just goes, "Aren't you gonna kill me?" And he goes, "Nah, I changed my mind. I'll."
And I gotta admit, there's another thing that Kirk says that really like throws me for a loop just as much as that line where he's like, "I'll kill you later," is when he goes, "You Klingon bastard," and I was just like, "Whoa, that guy said bastard."
Oh yeah,
I feel like that's that's the F word of like, Star Trek's. Is to say bastard. It's like, "You Klingon bastard." I was like, "Oh, you got nasty there."
All right, it was there's a lot of line delivery on this that's just so epic, man, and William Shatner really does a good job in that. So the movie wraps up.
This movie isn't as great as Wrath of Khan. Like Wrath of Khan is a completely its own little world of Star Trek movies, but The Search for Spock is a highly rewatchable movie.
Yeah. Okay.
It's got the potential of rewatchability. Like if you watched it for the first time, you're like, I don't know about this, but like if you keep going back, like you just realize how much fun this film is.
I picked it up. I even picked that up the first time. You could tell that they were definitely everybody was into it. Everybody was into it. Okay. Cast and crew were all into doing this movie. They were all gung-ho about. I get that feeling that they were all gung-ho about it. And it shows, and that's one of the reasons why I like the movie. All the way up until the end of when Spock comes back to life with the Vulcan refusion of the mind meld and the husk that's there that now becomes Spock again.
Ooh, the husk! I like that. And
there was just that moment where it's like that cast was just happy to be back together again. And there's and they you could just kind of see Leonard Nimoy at the end of that movie when the crew gets back together and it says the adventure still continues. And there's that shot of the crew just before that. And all I can think is that Nimoy and everybody else knew they're going to have a job even after this.
Yeah, because they were like, we did it 3 times already. We're going to do it again. You're going to direct again.
Yeah. And that, my friends, is The Search for Spock.
Woo!
That is. We did it, man.
We did do it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say highlight wise that you felt like wasn't mentioned or said throughout this
Highlight
episode?
wise is William Shatner's performance in this movie.
Yes.
How much you get more of the Maverick Kirk throughout the film. How much the like I said, they take in the movie in that very first act, they're just taking away his havingness. Lost his best friend. He's losing McCoy. He's losing Scott. He's losing his entire crew because they, once again, they're telling him there's not going to be an Enterprise, therefore you're not going to have a bridge crew. You're going to sit behind the desk. You're going to train new people, and you're going to get them to be as good as you. And the more they took away from Kirk, the more Kirk resisted, and you saw that in that first act, and then in the second act, how much he was just ready to just, I'm going to get my best friend's body. I'm going to take him back because this is the only way to honor my friend. And you saw that in a lot. And every performance of every character in this movie, Scott's sabotage of the Excelsior was brilliant. His line delivery, everybody had great line delivery. Sulu,
yes,
McCoy, even Walter Kenning's character, even though he had like 5 lines. Yeah. And then Uhura. Everybody had such great lines in this movie.
Everyone had a moment in this film where they could shine. So, like, as a Trekkie, if you were like, yeah, I like Captain Kirk, but I like this other person more, and to finally see them have their own light in the movie was just like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. 3 movies later, and I finally got this.
Right. And you saw that. You're right. Everyone had their time to shine, and it was great. And I love that. It wasn't just about Kirk and the crew, but it was now Kirk and the crew.
Yes.
Kirk and the gang.
Kirk and the gang. Kirk and the gang, as Leon likes to put it.
Fucking love it, man. But you're right. It's not as exciting, even though it's not as exciting as Wrath of Khan. I like to think of it as a feel good movie, even though there's some downers. Yeah. Even though there was a downer of a couple of downers in that movie, it's still a pretty feel good movie. And that's ultimately what I liked about it.
You get a lot of the leftovers of what happened in Wrath of Khan, and I think that was a bold thing to do in this movie, was to pick up where you left off, because there was a lot to be fulfilled, but then again, because there was so much material there, they could go back to the well and do it. And to see how they executed it, didn't really have enough depth like Wrath of Khan, but it definitely had enough fan service where people were left satisfied.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with that, man. So once again, I still think Wrath of Khan is the top movie on this one. And to me, it's a toss up between Search for Spock and the motion picture. It just depends on like what you're privy to at that point. Do you want a nice, artsy sci-fi movie? Go with the motion picture. You want a nice feel good movie? Go with Search for Spock.
So your 2 and 3 could be like switched up depending on the type of
right
movie.
Now they're interchangeable to me.
Okay, I'm going to go Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock.
Okay.
And the motion picture.
Wow, 2, 3, 1, baby.
Yeah, because the motion picture is artsy as you said it is, which I do enjoy. Doesn't have that
massive
story.
Appeal.
Yeah. Not mass appeal, but it doesn't have that story. It doesn't have the story. And that was the thing. Like with like the motion picture literally feels like a not only a standalone picture, but it really does feel like an episode within the series, as opposed to Wrath of Khan and The Search for Spock, which it feels like they're laying more out onto the table.
There's a lot of risk reward there, baby.
There is a lot of risk reward. Hey, the ways of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Or the one.
That's right.
All right, so now we have our next movie, which is apparently according to lore, is the wrap-up of this, which is the infamous Voyage Home, the one about the whales. I'm excited.
You haven't seen that?
Never seen it. I told you, I've never seen any of these movies, and because Paramount kind of fucked me. They took all the movies off of Hulu, and I rented The Search for Spock yesterday to watch it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, man, I'm going to spend another $4 to watch another movie. I think I might as well pay the $5 and get Paramount Plus so I can just for the remainder of this month, for the rest of this month of August, watch the rest of the Star Trek movies with you without having to worry about that. So you win, Paramount Plus. You win.
Can I be honest with you about
Go
something?
for it.
I have Paramount Plus, and they just took off Star Trek 2.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I didn't want you to waste your money.
Thank you for you know what? Thank you for telling me that. I guess I'm just gonna keep renting it via YouTube or Amazon Prime at this point.
I'll split the bill with you.
Don't even worry. It's just $4 a week. I'm not even.
I know, but we're gonna get up to $30.
It's okay. I can trust me. My job pays me pretty well. I can afford it, and I do a financial planning every Thursday, so I know what I'm doing.
I love that. I do financial planning every Thursday.
I'm sitting every Thursday, baby.
I love it. I usually do my financial planning every Wednesday, but I love your Thursday. It's got a nice ring to it.
It's because it's Thirsty Thursday. You have a glass of wine, you do your finances, and then you realize there's a lot of Nintendo games on sale on the Switch stores. So I'm gonna go. That's what happens when you get to the second glass of wine.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. Honey wine. You gotta love that honey wine.
You know it, baby. All right. This is Leon Andrews signing off for the night. Spencer, take us home, baby.
Take care. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the next voyage.
Peace out, y'all.